radio show where we talk about ideas that matter, and sometimes we talk about fun things that matter, which we will be today. And I'm glad you've made the connection and are with us. I'm Laurie Fitz, your host. And the goal of our show is to explore a wide range of topics that challenge us to see ourselves, our community, and the world around us in ways that get us connected. And perhaps challenged to do just a bit more because we've made that connection. Our topic today is not only connecting with our pets, but what you do when you bring that first pet home or you bring that new pet home. And hosting with me, actually my guest is, hosting with me is Rick Bernardo generally, but my friend Rick Bernardo is back in Connecticut. So we have our guest that originally my friend Rick arranged for. And John has been on our show one before, John Rossakis. He's the owner and lead trainer of Paw and Order in the Twin Cities. And just to give you right off the bat, if you'd like to check it out as we're having our discussion, his website is pawandorder.com/Twin Cities. Welcome, John.
Thank you. It's good to be back.
It is fun to have you here. And I also brought, perhaps I should have introduced my co-host as my dog.
That's right.
I've got Zuri here. Zuri, she jumped up in my lap as I mentioned her name. Zuri is a King Charles Cavalier Spaniel, 3 years old, and I got her when an owner who had got her and another one of her litter mates found it was a bit much having two puppies.
Imagine that.
And she was a really rambunctious little puppy. And so she wanted to place one of her puppies. And at that time, I needed one that was very, very confident. So what I'd love to have us do is start with how do you choose? When you're thinking about getting a dog, I mean, I was very clear about what I needed. I love the breed. I wanted a King Charles Cavalier Spaniel. I wanted one that was outgoing, and I wanted one that was a little young, so that she was 3 months. I mean, I could have taken a puppy as well, but 3 months. So I had very specific ideas. Even with those specific ideas, I had some surprises when I brought her home. So tell me about ideas for getting your dog.
Well, surprises are bound to happen no matter what, despite the best of planning, right? So, but to your point, I mean, you did, just from your description, you did a great job of researching and understanding what your lifestyle can accommodate, what you want specifically, what personality traits, etc. So right off the bat, I would say first, before you even bring a dog home, do your homework and be honest with yourself and your family, if you don't live alone, about what can you reasonably accommodate with a dog. Do you really want to bring a puppy home? I've worked with many clients who I'll walk in from day one and they just have that kind of shell-shocked look. Like, oh man, what did we get into here? If you're looking for a specific breed, understand the drives and the needs of that specific breed, right? If you're someone who likes to jog, don't get a corgi, right? If you're someone who really wants a mellow couch potato of a dog, do not get a border collie. Ask a trainer. I think
And where you live.
Pardon me?
And where you live.
And where you live, exactly.
If you've got an apartment, if you are a jogger and you do like to be outside, a border collie's great.
Yeah.
And they're not necessarily big barkers, except if they go into separation anxiety.
Right.
But they need exercise. And if you're out and about and living in an apartment, that's one thing. But if you're a couch potato in an apartment and a border collie, the border collie will start getting zooey on you.
Oh, to say the least. Yeah. So breeds like border collies, Vizslas, etc., dogs that were bred for very specific jobs. Those are not a good choice for people who have a more sedentary lifestyle. So, I can't recommend enough. Just reach out to a trainer, pick their brain before you even get a dog. I'm a big proponent of rescue, for at least as far as having a family dog goes.
Yeah.
But beyond that, if you really, if you like the idea of a specific breed, talk to a trainer, or at the very least, maybe reach out to someone you may know who has that breed. And talk to them.
Yeah. And bring your children.
Yes.
If you have children, if you're going to be adopting a dog. I remember when I was probably 5 or 6 years old, my poodle that they had given me had died. And so they took me and they expected me to find another little dog when we went to the Humane Society. And I fell in love with an Australian Shepherd. I mean,
Yeah.
that Australian Shepherd loved me. I mean, I came into the little pen and that dog was all over me and I was all over it. And it was like, this is the dog. And they're like, we wanted a poodle.
All right.
But okay. Now, it turned out great. But
Mhm.
I think my parents then knew what it would be to have an Australian Shepherd.
Right.
And they saw that I was active. They,
Mhm.
I think for their lifestyle, they would have liked a poodle.
Yes.
But and so you have to like look at that. Just because a parent might want something or think about it,
Mhm.
is the child ready for something more? I mean, I loved big dogs, outdoor sports dogs
Mhm.
up until like my 50s.
Mhm.
And then I started getting really attracted to the Cavalier Spaniel.
Mhm. Yep.
Just because you had golden retrievers maybe all your life, at a certain point, is that what you want now?
Well, we change,
Mhm.
as we age, our bodies change, we change, our interests change. So that's, yeah, you may want a different type of dog as you move on through your life. One just little word of caution I would put about bringing a child along.
Yeah.
Age matters,
Yes.
of course. So bringing
Yes.
along a 12-year-old versus maybe a 7-year-old
Mhm.
can be a big difference, meaning, you bring along a very young child, kids being kids, they're going to love every dog they meet.
True.
So you may want to do the choosing first,
Yeah.
at least for kids who are very young.
Yeah.
And I can guarantee you, no matter what dog you bring home, your child is going to be ecstatic. They're going to be so happy.
That is true.
Yeah.
That is very true. And it's not so true for getting something maybe for your mother who's retiring.
Exactly.
It's not really fair to go out and get a dog and a puppy. And I've known people that, I want to get my mom a puppy. She needs a puppy now that she's retired. And
Right.
she's like, no, I retired so that I could travel.
Exactly. Get the person's consent.
Yes.
I mean, that should be in bold letters on every rescue. Said, do not get a dog as a gift, as a
Right.
surprise gift.
Right.
That very, very likely will go sour
Yeah.
quickly.
Well, and this time it turned out. I mean, she did like the
Yeah.
dog, and it disappointed the daughter that thought like, she's always loved dogs. This is going to be great, and she did not give the enthusiastic
Oh,
response
no.
that the daughter had hoped. But
Oh, boy.
so you can, dogs are human. Dogs are beings that humans need to take care of and take responsibility for.
Yes.
But they are beings.
Exactly.
And understanding what the dog needs. What if the dog had anxiety issues with separation and she did want to travel a lot?
Exactly.
Those are things that are not fair. So what are some other things that you can think of that are important in like getting that dog?
Well, age, is a big consideration. And I think we were chatting before the start of the show. Many people opt to get a dog who's maybe in the 1 to 2-year-old range. And that's a great choice for people who really don't want to deal with all of, that first year kind of lunacy.
Yeah.
That can be typical with dogs in that age range. Even up to about 2 years old, many dogs just still exhibit a lot of that, crazy puppy energy. So
And chew.
and
Love to
chew,
chew.
chewing is a perfectly natural
Yeah.
behavior, and just expect to live with it,
Yeah.
at least for a very young dog until they're kind of out of that phase. For some dogs, it can take even longer. Ultimately, despite a dog's given breed, background, etc., a dog is an individual being, to your
Yeah.
point, Laurie, right?
Yeah.
So even a dog from a specific breed may not strongly show those breed specific traits. Right? You wish it could be a guarantee, but it's not.
I wanted a confident dog, and I got that in Zuri. But I thought that the breed of being kind of a couch potato dog would, make her not be super athletic.
Right.
And she's more like a border collie in,
Yeah,
in what
it
she
can
wants in
happen.
terms of exercise and doing and being. And it's like, okay, well, you're a throwback to the original King Charles
There
hunting
you go,
dog.
right? Right.
There you go.
Her legacy is shining through in her genetics.
Exactly. Now, I think it's also important to think about if you've had dogs and you want to foster or adopt from either the Humane Society or there's some wonderful rescues out there. I particularly love the Underdog. Is to keep in mind what might have been some of their traumas
Exactly.
before you. Like mine was my older one is a puppy mill stud. And when he came, he was just catatonic. There was like, is there a dog inside there? I hope so. Couldn't go upstairs, had been trapped in a crate for 5 years. and everything frightened
heartbreaking.
him, and even going from the living room to the kitchen
Hmm.
was like a huge act of bravery.
Hmm.
He's doing great now.
Hmm.
He's never going to be completely, the dog if we'd raised him from a puppy.
Hmm.
But we brought him back, and that
Hmm.
that feels really good. That we have brought him
Absolutely.
to the point of being a dog. But we knew that before we got him,
Yes. Hmm.
and kept that in mind.
Hmm.
And I've heard you've dealt with folks that have brought in,
Oh yeah.
a dog that's had trauma.
Yes, many, many clients, and even dogs that I've fostered myself. And dogs are interesting in that, I guess you could say this, they're similar with people in that regard. Their past is not sort of like a guaranteed stamp of how they're going to show up to you. So I've worked with dogs who have had pretty traumatic pasts
Yep.
that have, they've just had the fortitude, or whatever you want to call it. They can walk into a home and be more or less pretty good from the start.
Hmm.
Where other dogs, like your dog who you just described, it can take a lot of work. And I think human beings in general, just we want to be that savior.
Yeah,
We
there is
want to
that.
be, and that's great, but
Yeah.
just understand what that could mean with a dog who has had significant trauma in their past.
Because you could get disappointed. You
Exactly,
could get disappointed that they're not, coming back as quickly as you'd hope they would.
exactly.
And you could almost start to feel like, what am I not doing?
Right.
And it
Right.
just takes time for some.
It takes time, and again, to your point, that dog may never be the kind of dog
Yeah.
who happily runs up wagging their tail,
Hmm.
and that's fine.
Hmm.
That's just who this dog is
Hmm.
because of their past, because of their temperament.
Yeah.
But, don't place unrealistic expectations,
Right.
on the final outcome of who and what your dog is going to be.
Well, in our next segment, we're going to talk about bringing that dog home
Hmm.
and things that you need to do and think about or have the opportunity to think about. And again, I want to make sure that folks know if they want to learn more about the work of Paw and Order, which I just love that title. It's pawandorder.com/Twin Cities. And we'll be right back to learn about bringing that doggy home. What should we be doing? Connections Radio Show, where we talk about things that matter. And you may have guessed, dogs matter to me. And I have
Really?
Yes, I have a delight. Well, horses, dogs, cats. I have a little farm. Animals mean a lot to me. And I've appreciated your insights, John. We
Thank
have
you.
John Rossakis, who is the owner and lead trainer for Paw and Order here in the Twin Cities. To learn more about him, you can go to pawandorder.com, Twin Cities. But he's really insightful and very in tune with working with the owner and the dog. It's not just about training the dog. I kind of think of it as training the dog family.
That's a great way to look at it, actually. I like that. I'm going to use that.
Oh, good.
I like
Please
that.
do. Because it's more than just the dog. It's the family. And in our last segment, we talked about ideas. So if you're thinking about getting a dog, I hope some of those ideas were helpful for you to make your connection to the dog that is going to be the one you take home. But when you do take home that dog, tell me about the first day.
Day one, fun for everyone. So I'd say just sort of some ground rules. I think regardless of where the dog came from, dogs typically are just going to need some time to just settle in, right? So day one, maybe even the first couple or 3 days, you just want to teach your dog the very basics of where they are now, right? Some dogs, let's say, a rescue dog perhaps, who's maybe been outside their whole life. I have had to spend considerable time with many of my foster dogs just teaching them how to come into the house,
Really?
for example.
They go
Yeah,
up to the door and they don't know what to
they'll
do.
go up to the door and they've never been allowed in a home. So for many of these dogs, being inside four walls is very strange.
Yeah.
So that could be a starting point for your dog. You definitely do not want to start training on day one. You really want the dog to just settle in. So let them get the lay of the land around the house. You might even want to have your dog on a leash, indoors. And just that way you could safely guide them around the house, show them where their bed is,
Yeah.
show them where the water bowl is, take them outside to potty, let them know that that's the potty area, not in the house. That's another thing to be mindful of, regardless of where a dog came from. I don't care if it's from a breeder, a rescue group, what have you. many, if not most dogs, will have an accident,
Hmm.
perhaps several accidents
Before they get the routine.
before they get the routine and get over that anxiety.
Yeah.
I mean, it is really scary for some of these dogs. We can't communicate with them in a way that makes sense
And for a
yet.
puppy, they have no idea.
And for a puppy, then you have to, age is a big consideration.
Yeah.
A very young pup physically cannot hold it for longer periods of time,
Hmm.
right? So, a younger pup, you would want to start getting out on a regular basis more often, perhaps.
Even in the middle of the night.
Even, yes, even, yeah, the sad reality of having a very young pup is,
Yeah.
you could kiss a good night's sleep goodbye for a
Yeah.
while,
Yeah.
right? But you want to let at least a few days go by, I would say, generally speaking. Every dog is a little different before you really start focusing in on, maybe some basic training,
Hmm.
starting to build daily routines,
Hmm.
getting them out for walks.
How
Again,
early can you start a puppy on a collar and leash?
oh, you could start them as soon as you get them home.
Oh, really?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, it's a good idea to have a puppy on a collar and leash, maybe a leash that wraps or connects to your waist,
Oh, interesting.
because you really want to have them nearby where you could watch them for potty training.
Interesting. I've
Okay.
never. I always thought that you needed to wait a little bit, because they're young, their neck is
No,
maybe,
I mean, a gently fitting collar,
yeah,
and
or
that
maybe
way,
even a harness.
or
Collar,
maybe
yeah,
even a harness,
yeah,
perhaps. That way they're getting used to the feeling
yeah,
of it,
yeah,
right away. Or some people may opt to just have baby gates up.
yeah.
If you
That's
just
what I've
don't,
done.
yeah, many people will. If you
Yeah.
just don't like that feeling of having a leash attached to you,
Hmm.
then, have perhaps a gate or partition of some kind so you can keep an eye on the puppy.
Hmm.
And that way, if you see that they're about to potty, that's actually a great house training opportunity
Hmm.
that we could gently pick them up, take them outside, wait for them to potty outside, praise the daylights out of them, let them know
Hmm.
what a great little dog they are, and then come back in the house.
I remembered a situation with a puppy that I had as a young in my teenage years, and I was thinking about what you were saying in the first segment about picking a dog and understanding what the dog needs and
Hmm.
is. Well, that dog got out of the caged area, or we had like little the little gates that we put up. Somehow she got through.
Oh
She
boy.
she must have been about a 3-month-old golden retriever, and we had one of those long couches, and she tore apart the whole couch. I mean,
I don't mean to laugh.
she did. She ripped up every
It's,
cushion,
yeah.
and I came home, and my mom worked, and I had to call my mom and just say, I'm really sorry, but the dog ate the couch.
Hmm.
And she's like, oh, you mean like the pillows? No,
The
like
couch.
it's like down to like I see the wires and the wood.
Oh no. Yeah.
So yeah, you got to watch the dog.
You have
And
to watch the dog.
I
Yes.
should. It wasn't as common as it is today to have crates.
Hmm.
But should I've had a crate for that dog, it
Hmm.
would not have gotten out and
Hmm.
into mischief.
Yep.
So the responsibility of setting up a routine, like crating when you're out, and
Absolutely.
all of those
Yep.
things are very helpful because it's natural for a dog want to chew.
Oh yeah, it is. I mean, I've told when I was teaching classes at the Humane Society, just a puppy kindergarten
Yeah,
class,
it's
say
great.
that one of the first things I would tell my students, like, I want you to write this and tape it to your fridge. Everything is a chew toy.
Yes.
It's in a puppy's mind. It
Yes,
is, and
yes.
they are just doing what they're naturally meant to do.
And I don't know how they know it, but they always know your favorite shoes.
Oh yeah,
It's not just any shoe.
right.
I don't know if like you feel
Right.
happy in your shoe and you've got a certain smell
Right.
because you're wearing your
That
favorite
smells just
shoe.
a little
A
different.
little different,
Yeah.
but all of my puppies always knew my favorite shoe to
Right.
completely chew apart.
That shoe tastes really happy.
Yes,
I'm happy.
and it was always, of course, the most expensive shoe.
Of course.
Yeah, yeah.
Of course. Yeah.
And-
But you bring up a good. I'm sorry. I didn't mean
No,
to-
no.
But crate training.
Yes.
Thank you for reminding me. I think that is super important. And there are, especially people who maybe have not had a dog before, they can have some very ambivalent feelings about a crate.
Mhm.
One of the most useful and important training tools up front, at least, right? Your dog may not, down the road, they may end up not really needing or wanting to be in a crate, and that's fine. But in the beginning, at least, especially for a puppy, it's really crucial for house training.
Hmm.
Many dogs will like having a place that they could just escape to
Yeah.
and just hang out in. So even after your dog is reliably house trained, even after they've learned that everything is not a chew toy, um, I like the idea of having a crate up, just even with the gate off,
Yeah.
for example. Just a go-to spot for your dog
And
is really nice.
I have that. And it's interesting because you sometimes take your human feelings and put them on a dog's
Yeah,
feeling. And
yeah.
so you think, oh, you don't want to trap them. You
Hmm.
don't want them. And you would think a dog that was 5 years in a puppy mill would not want to ever see a crate again. However,
Quite
those
the opposite.
5 years, that's what they knew.
That was their normal.
So in my office, and my dogs are with me in my office, I always have the door open. Most of the time, Bozzie's on the bed, the one that's a rescue, and like to just sit on the bed and watch me do my office work. But there's a lot of times he wants to go in that crate, and he cuddles up with his blanket, and he's happy. I think he's happy that he can get in and out.
Yes.
But we can't impose like, oh, a crate looks terrible. My
Right.
father was always like, crates are terrible. I don't think so.
No, not at all.
It's almost like their little cave.
It is, and ultimately, like many things, it's really kind of up to the dog.
Yeah.
Pay attention to your dog. And some people just prefer having their dog crated throughout their lives when they're not home, and that's fine. You just want to make sure the crate is, big enough
Yeah.
and spacious enough that it's, appropriate enough for your dog to be able to get up and move around
I have
easily.
a huge crate for the two of them, and the door's always open,
Yeah.
and so that if they get scared, they can go.
They
in
can
there.
just go in on their
Yeah,
own.
yeah.
I have the same setup at
Yeah.
my house for my younger female dog who's very frightened of thunder, fireworks, any sudden loud noises. And I've trained her, I call it her box.
Yeah.
So last night, for example, we had some thunder rolling through Minneapolis. And sure enough, Patsy up, she got up off the couch. My husband and I were watching something on TV, took herself to her box, and that's
I'm going to
what she's been
do
trained to do.
self-care now.
Exactly, and I was really happy to see like this is working, but some dogs just don't want a crate. So what I always suggest with my clients is sort of my two criteria: as long as your dog is reliably house trained, and as long as they're not destructive, they're fine not being crated.
Yeah.
Maybe a happy medium could be just isolating them in a room, maybe the kitchen, maybe a mud room if you have it.
Kitchen, I don't recommend based on my own past experience of the dog getting out of the kitchen.
Yeah.
No, but it can be anywhere that you have a secure gate.
Yes.
But with that, we should go to our commercials. But before we do, I want to just let the audience know that our next is looking at routines. We've started to talk
Yes.
about routines, but in our next segment, we'll be doing a deeper dive with how much of, and if you're hearing a shaking sound, that is Zuri telling me to hurry up and get to the next segment. So we'll be right back, and thank you for staying with us. The Connections Radio Show, where we talk about ideas that matter. And of course, relationships that matter. And we've got we're talking about dogs today. Not only how we connect with our pets, but also dealing with a new pet in your home and some things to think about. And we brought back our friend John Rossakis, who is the owner and lead trainer of Paw and Order in the Twin Cities. And to learn more about the work that he does, you can go to pawandorder.com/Twin Cities. So we've talked about looking at what kind of dog you may want. And we talked about what happens on those first days in bringing the new dog into your home. And now we're going to talk about setting a routine. I know my dogs love schedules. They thrive on
Yes.
schedules. New things are not terribly exciting to them. They like to depend. So tell me about, how do we start figuring out what's a routine that we can best do with our life that's going to best support a dog's happiness? Because I think they're genuinely more happy with a routine.
Absolutely. Yeah. Dogs, unlike a lot of people, don't like big surprises generally. They like sameness. They like routine. They like schedules. So right off the bat, let's look at some of the most basic things you need to have under your belt, under control with having a dog in the house. House training. Start getting them out on a regular basis. So when, like the first couple of days you have a dog with you at home, don't worry so much about, doing it every 2 hours or every 4 hours. Maybe get the dog every so often, let's say. Just get them into the routine of going out where they're supposed to go potty.
Hmm.
You know, I would
And
say,
making it kind of fun.
and making it fun. You know, throw a little party for them every time they party outside in the right spot.
Uh,
The big mistake some people will make sometimes when they're house training, just as a quick aside here, you don't want to stand by the door and let your
yeah.
dog go out and then praise them when they come back in the house.
Hmm.
Then all they're learning is they're getting rewarded for coming back in the house. They're not making the connection with pottying outside. So go outside with your dog.
I laugh only because I did make that mistake with Zuri.
Yeah,
At one point, was giving her really great treats when she came in.
yeah.
So then she figured out, oh, if I just go out for a moment and I come
And
back
come back,
in,
exactly.
I
Yeah,
will get that really fantastic
yeah.
treat. And I'm like, no, that wasn't what we set up here.
Exactly. But in her mind, it's exactly what you
Yes.
set up, right?
And I set it up for her to believe that too,
Hmm.
because I waited at the door. She came in. When she came trotting in, got a great treat.
Right.
So she learned very
Kind of
early.
skipped over the potty
Yeah.
part.
She learned very early how to like train me.
Yes, exactly. So, you know, potty training right off the bat, start getting them on some kind of routine to start. I'd say, you know, and this can vary, of course, dog to dog, but maybe after a couple or a few days, you could start establishing a more regular schedule.
Hmm.
Like as soon as you get up, let them out. Then after they eat, they go out right away again. Then maybe a midday potty break, et cetera, et
Yeah.
cetera. Also, crate training, like we talked about before the break, introduce the crate to your dog immediately. Simple games, even just throwing treats
Yeah.
into the crate. Some dogs will take to a crate immediately, kind of like what you were saying with
Yeah.
your rescue dog. Other dogs might be more suspicious. Other dogs may outrightly dislike their crate altogether. So there are different challenges. But
Hmm.
generally speaking, you want to make the crate as, if not at least neutral, a really fun and rewarding place for your dog to be in. One crate game I really like doing, there's several I really like, but if you have a blanket in the crate, you can hide treats inside the
Ah,
blanket.
nice idea.
So that way your dog is actually going in there,
And
kind
having
of
a
like
little adventure.
a little adventure, kind of like without thinking about it.
Yeah.
You will get that occasional dog who's a stinker and will stick their head in and grab the blanket and drag it out. But for dogs where this trick works, it
Uh,
works really well because they're in the crate,
yeah.
having a blast, making a positive association with it.
Nice.
You could feed them in the crate,
Yeah.
you know,
That
at
makes
least to
sense.
start. Play games of fetch going in and outside of the crate. You know, these are just simple ways that you could introduce and build up a dog's trust and tolerance of the crate being actually a really good, positive place to go to.
One of the things that I do is when I travel
Hmm.
and my husband works, I have neighbors who are willing to do this. I
Nice.
take the crate to their house. So even though they're in the neighbor's home,
Hmm.
they have their crate
Exactly.
and they love that.
Yes.
And I've got, thank you, neighbors. I love my neighbors. They're very kind and very generous and taking care of the dogs and the horses while I'm gone. But that kind of like association with something that's theirs and it's their territory too, I think helps them while
Absolutely.
I'm not there and that they're in another
Yes.
house.
Absolutely.
And if they don't, if we're not like on a vacation and we're gone, they'll come at 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock and they keep up the routine
Love it.
so that the dogs are like, oh yeah, there's, even though mom's gone,
Hmm.
the same 10 and 2 is being honored.
And that's so important. Like, you know, we mentioned how routine is so important with
Hmm.
dogs. It's kind of like if you're able to take, let's say you have a child who's maybe afraid of doing sleepovers, you
Hmm.
know, it's
Yeah,
almost like you're able to take their room and plop it in the new
exactly.
person's house,
Exactly.
right? Like, all right, here's your safe
Yeah.
spot. Now you're okay. Now you can just retreat to that whenever you need to.
I also think that sometimes people don't, she's shaking in agreement, I think. People don't understand that they are like children. We kid and say they're like children,
Right.
but they really are.
In many ways, yeah.
And not just like, oh, because I love them so much. The same things that you would do in treating a 3-year-old child, a
Exactly.
toddler.
Hmm.
Keep that in mind for what you need to be thinking about for how you give reassurance, how you give discipline, how you want to
Exactly.
keep them from getting hurt. I mean,
Exactly.
we are responsible,
Hmm.
and I think most dogs are probably the cognitive level of a 3 to 5-year-old,
Hmm.
and keeping that in mind, and they can't communicate, although you can notice certain things that
Right.
they do that are trying to communicate. They can't verbally communicate like
Exactly.
a 3 to 5-year-old,
Hmm.
but they need that kind of care and concern.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's a good point as well, is introducing just very basic ways to communicate with the dog when they come in your home. You could even start with their name,
Hmm.
perhaps. Give the dog a new name. The name game. It's great. All you're doing is saying the dog's name, and when they look at you, even briefly, you're marking and rewarding that.
Uh-huh.
So, hey, Fido. You get a brief eye glance. Yes, here you go. Helping them. Yeah, yes, of course, they're learning their name, but they're also learning to sort of connect with you.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
learning your tone of voice. They're learning being in close proximity to you, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, and changing their name. I did change Zuri's name. Her name was Cleo. I understand now. She is kind of a Cleopatra. It's
Okay.
like, now I get why your name is Cleo. But we went with Zuri, and it took a little bit,
Hmm.
to have her connect that's what we have named her.
That is your. Yeah, it doesn't even sound
Yeah.
alike. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
No, not at all.
Hmm.
But we love the name Zuri. And
Hmm.
my daughter loves the name Zuri. So we named her Zuri because she wanted a Zuri.
Yep.
And Boswell, he had a name, but
Hmm.
I don't think they ever worked with him in connecting
Okay.
and understanding that was his name. I think it was just more for the papers.
Hmm.
When he first started to get like, oh, you're talking to me?
Yes.
There was like this,
Oh, that's me.
like an aha moment. You're
Hmm.
like, and then when he was starting to be able to let us know, like he wanted to go out, he'd come up and scratch my leg, just a
Yes.
soft paw, and
Hmm.
like I would let him out. He was like, wow,
This works.
exactly. This is cool. But seeing those moments of connection,
Hmm.
seeing in a routine, I think they start to come out because the dog can start to trust it.
Yeah.
They can start to go, okay,
Yeah. And
I
they're
get this.
learning they'll get a response, which
Yes,
in itself is a self-reinforcing behavior. So, hey, if I come to mom and just, rub her thigh, like you said,
exactly.
with a paw,
Yeah,
I get to go outside.
exactly.
I can pretty much guarantee you your dog is going to repeat that behavior a lot.
It
You know?
does. It does. I mean, it has other behaviors too, but
Yeah.
like, especially if I'm on the computer and I'm really busy and just like, hey, mom, hello.
Yes.
Did you
Exactly.
know it's 10:30?
There was that.
We do 10.
Right.
In case you
Waiting,
missed it.
waiting down here.
Exactly. Just a nudge. Don't want to be too overpowering here, but please
Right.
allow.
And other things you can do, family members, if you don't live alone and there are other people in your home,
Yeah.
just, guiding, especially kids,
Hmm.
walking them through what is a good, safe, calm introduction to
Hmm.
that dog.
Hmm.
If you start off with scaring a dog, making them nervous, it's just that much harder to get them back, at the beginning.
Sometimes, and we talked earlier about like the dog family.
Hmm.
Sometimes a dog is going to be, especially a rescue, more attached to one than other. And sometimes kids can have a hard time with that.
Yes.
How do you work with the family in helping them understand what the dog needs so that they don't feel put off that the dog isn't
Hmm.
attached to them as much as it is to either another sibling
So,
or a parent or whatever?
sure. I try my best to put it in terms that a child or, even a young adult perhaps can
Hmm.
understand. So I might frame it as, let's think about your friends. You have a best friend, don't you?
Hmm.
Now, it's okay that you have a best friend. Your dog is choosing for now,
Hmm.
just to attach to someone else. But as they get to know you, you can become part of that group. You can become part of that clique. So this is not forever
Hmm.
if the dog is not being as, you know, warm to you or as welcoming to you,
Cuddly,
cuddly,
yeah,
friendly,
yeah.
etc. Some dogs may have a traumatic past,
Hmm.
but ultimately, I think if you put it in terms that a person, especially a young child, can
Hmm.
understand, hey, you can become friends with us. Let's practice being friends. Give
Hmm.
the dog a treat, be
Right.
gentle. You
And
know,
maybe even have that child that's not feeling as connected,
hmm.
some of the routines.
Right,
Let's work you more into the routine.
right. You can have more of a leadership role
Yes,
with this.
you can be
Hmm.
feeding the dog.
Hmm.
We'll get the prepare, but make sure that you are offering it.
Right.
That dog will start to recognize, oh, you're
Hmm.
important. Cool.
Exactly. And you're part of the
Yeah.
clan here,
Yeah,
right? You
exactly.
can open the door to let the dog out.
Hmm.
I mean, there are lots of little tasks you can assign to your kids, to your
Hmm.
family that will help build that bond. Just be creative,
Right.
you know?
And so the routine isn't just for the dog. It's
No,
the
not at all.
routine is how does the family look at we have a new member of the family
Right.
And how are we all going to be welcoming this new member to the family?
Exactly.
And how do we all have our roles
Mm-hmm.
in working with this new member of the family? And a
Exactly.
role might be, yeah, no, it's cool, you guys.
Right.
You do the dog thing.
Right.
I've got my cat, and I'm just into cats.
Right.
So, and that's okay too. But
Yeah.
I think it's important to talk it over with the family and
Mm-hmm.
talk it over with the kids. What role do you want to play?
Right.
How are we going to welcome and really treat it as an important addition to the family?
Right. That has different needs
Exactly.
from us. Mm-hmm.
And I think all the things that a dog can teach us is so important. It can also be important to prepare the child for the inevitable, because
Yes.
that's going to be rough as well.
Yes.
But not getting to that today, because our next segment, we're going to continue to talk about routines, but we're also going to be talking about how to notice that and the dog's personality. Because
Yes.
as you said in the first segment, a dog may be a certain breed that you have certain expectations, but we get our surprises, and being able to notice what the dog is telling us.
Yes.
So we'll be right back after just some great commercials that support our AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. That's your host, and we have been talking about connecting with our pets, especially when we are thinking about getting a new dog, and then when we bring that dog home, and then over time, what are some of the routines that we can get started for our family? And then it's how do we get to really know the dog? Because each dog has its own very distinct personality.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you have some suggestions for us to be thinking about.
Yes.
And
Absolutely.
this is, excuse me, I should introduce you. We do that I sort of forget that this is a new segment. John Rossakis, and he has Paw and Order. He is a trainer. He is almost like a family advisor for the new pet in
Not
your
a family
home.
therapist.
No, I didn't say that, but I went with advisor in how to integrate your new dog and how to continue to work with that dog and train that dog. He has Paw and Order, and the website, should you want to go take a look and learn more, it's pawandorder.com with a /Twin Cities. So back to you, John. You had some ideas for us
Yes.
to be thinking about.
So getting to know, who and what your dog is. And, we've touched on this a little bit previously. But whether your dog is a pure breed, a mixed breed, what have you, your dog is going to be an individual. At the end of the day, your dog is your dog, right? So there's actually a book that I highly recommend, whether you're currently a dog owner, thinking of getting a dog, seasoned dog owner. It's called Meet Your Dog. MEET, Meet Your Dog.
How do you do?
Right. The author is Kim Brophy, is her name. She's an ethologist. And these are people who observe all wild animals, in their natural environments. She's done a lot of great work with dogs. This is not a training book. Basically, there's a lot I could say about it, and we have limited time. Basically, it talks about really understanding what a dog is from the ground up. Because there are lots of different things that affect your dogs. Their environment, genetics are huge. Genetics are huge when it comes to dog behavior, but also their environment, learning, what they've learned in the past, what they continue to learn, and their self. Dogs have a personality. So all of those things are in a constant interplay to, culminate in the product, let's say that is your dog. I'll give you a quick example. My female dog, her name is Patsy. She is 50% German Shepherd, 20% American Staffordshire Terrier, 20% Pit Bull, 6% Retriever, and 4% a hobgob of other stuff, right? Personality-wise, she is a Retriever. Even
I
though
love
that,
Bug.
right? Oh, she's a great dog. I mean, she's got a lot of energy, but she's very much a Retriever in her personality, the things that she seeks. I've had her in Frisbee League. I've had her in dock diving.
Wow.
She's an active dog. But the point is, many of these traits are really much more specific to a Retriever than they are to any of the other genetic traits that should be popping up that are so much more prevalent in her DNA. Why did that happen? How did that happen? Who knows? I don't know.
Well,
This is who she is.
When I think about, even child psychology, they talk about nature nurture.
Yes.
How much is the natural DNA genetics, and how much is the influence of the family, the parents, and the nurturing that the child gets.
Yep.
I have to believe that maybe your dog sensed that it would be fun to play with
Yeah.
you. And
Yeah.
that you may have in the nurturing also brought out more of the retriever in her.
Oh, yeah.
And since this was a great thing between you.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to believe that the nurture does play a role.
Oh, absolutely.
And I do think that dogs love to please.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a constant interplay
Yes.
between nature and nurture. I don't think one is any more or less important than
Right.
the other. But dogs, like people, I mean, we are born into this world with a set of blueprints, right? So, let's just take me, for example. I could never be an accountant, for example. Me and math just do not get along. No amount of nurturing is going to change that.
Yeah.
That's just not my inclination. I'll never be an engineer, right? For example. Dogs are the same way. They are born into this world with a set of blueprints, and if you have a pure breed dog, it's much more likely you're going to get this particular set of blueprints. But that's not even a guarantee.
Yeah.
There are border collies out there. I guarantee you, border collies out there who have zero interest in herding.
Hard to believe, but
Right?
yes.
It is entirely
It can
possible, and
happen,
it does
yeah.
happen. There are German Shepherds who have zero interest in being guardians, for example, and it can go on and on.
But to your point about coming into this world, they did twin studies for many years. Twins separated at birth. And weird coincidences.
Right.
I mean, marrying someone with the same name, having the same favorite sport,
Yep.
same type of sense of humor.
Yeah.
It was amazing how much was nature.
It is, isn't it? My husband is an identical twin.
Ah.
So I hear this, and I see it a lot between him and his identical twin brother. It's striking.
It's spooky almost.
Yes. On top of the fact that they're identical physically, right?
And that's a lot like a dog breed,
Yeah.
right? And I'm not saying
Right.
no
No.
disparaging
Hey,
comments
you're
about
talking
twins.
to a dog
Yeah,
trainer
good,
here.
good, good.
It's a compliment.
But that dogs have like like you said, a blueprint.
Yeah.
And to honor that, know how that's going to work for your family.
Right.
Know how that works for you, and know how it works for the dog.
Right.
And it's almost like we get an edge by knowing a little bit about the
Oh,
breed
absolutely.
and being able to then notice what might be not exactly in the breed too.
And in this day and age, we have DNA testing,
Yeah.
which can be really helpful and just, it's part of the puzzle of decoding your dog. But ultimately, it really is just a matter of getting to know the dog right in front of you. What makes you tick?
Yeah.
What are you interested in? What are things that I can do to engage you and give you the stimulation and the training you need that we both need
Yeah.
to be able to peacefully coexist happily?
I have two King Charles Cavalier Spaniels. One is very food motivated. The little one that was in the puppy mill loves his food, and no matter what's in front of him, he'll eat it.
Yep.
Now this one, Zuri, is like, I need variety. I'm sorry, you fed this to me yesterday. I'm sorry, I don't like
Not
it.
quite the texture I want today.
Exactly, and my tummy hurts.
Love me anyway.
Yes. So we eventually went with Farmer's Dog, and she loves it now. But she literally could not live with just, the same food every day.
She trained you
She
very
did.
well.
She does that very well. Well, we really appreciate you being here today and
I
sharing
really
with us your
enjoy it.
insights and letting me bring Zuri to be, part of the show was great fun.
It was a great start to my Saturday. Thank you.
Absolutely. And again, I want to just share pawandorder.com/Twin Cities.
Thank you.
Have a great day.